On April 16, 2023, my John and Dan identity passed away, leaving me with what remains, my John and Dan legacy, the part of us that will stay the same, while my appreciation will likely change. John is gone, that leaves me. This story will not tell itself. That's what old survivors do. I'll take that on myself and leave it here for you. I don't presume to know, and I refuse to write as though I made any difference in his life. Ironically, this will be all about me. That side of John that I could see, the life and times we shared. From our early childhood history, with any notes that we compared. It's not for me to say the role, if any, I had to play for him, aside from his own description. The one he had to say, one another's sounding board. That one has endured up until he passed away. Enough stalling, hemming, and hauling. Here's what I would say if John were here. Would you be so kind as to spend some time to be his eyes and ears? After all you see and hear, may there be laughter after tears. Invited to a hanging, viewer discretion advised. With a title like that, hang on to your hat. Don't look so surprised. Invited to a hanging, I knew the prisoner well, friends and family, ganging up to see him off to hell. His neck already in the noose by the time I took my seat. Left me wondering, what's the use? This one last time we'd ever meet. Guaranteed he'd die on time, since the deadline wasn't just on the clock. It was the rope that was getting ever so taut. I would lift him off his feet. Invited to a hanging, the condemned man was my friend. We friends and family straggling in to commiserate and commemorate his life about to end. We all took turns to say goodbye. He nodded once or twice. So choked up his last reply as the tightening noose became a vice. Invited to a hanging of my long-lost childhood friend. Our curious young minds entangling, the world we shared would not be spared, our life and times about to end. My earliest childhood recollection, the first that has a date, your 7th birthday celebration, according to your invitation, included lunch before the cake. Mother dropped me off, I'm pretty sure probably running late. That lunch part she decided to ignore, insisting that I ate my lunch at home before. Well, that's just great. I show up late to a luncheon date because I was fed ahead of time, instead of waiting and participating with everyone to be together as we dine. I was timid as a mouse that first time inside your house, trying to scurry across the floor through a forest, not of trees, but of the legs of standing ladies. I remember seeing just their knees at the level of my gaze, as I searched for you, the only face I knew, finding my way through the people maze. My mind at blue, likened to an acid trip on purple haze. I don't remember having fun. Too much confusion to overcome, preferring just the two of us, playing one-on-one. As lunch was being served, I could not find the nerve to be so rude as to turn down food. At the tender age of 6, my eyes were fixed on that paper plate, To compensate for my being late, your mother piled it higher despite my having no desire. Such yummy food that I really liked, but no tummy room for a single bite. I remember ditching that loaded plate to an uncertain fate on your cellar steps with deep regrets. I had no choice but to hide that plate for the sake of getting birthday cake, a scoop of ice cream too, eaten fast while it lasts before it melts into the cake, making another plate mistake and losing 2 for 2. The year was 1959. The world seemed fresh and new, the life and times of me and you, our childhood point of view. Toy handguns, so much fun. One was not enough. Pick your brand, take a stand. Daisy nailed the details. Hubley, more robust. Heavy metal, stronger stuff than the plastics soon to follow. With that look and feel, mechanical action made of steel, blasting capsule and a paper reel, such fun to pull the trigger, like a real gun when you get bigger. BB guns, my brother had one, slingshots of surgical tubing. If you were a squirrel up your tree, you'd find either to be equally disturbing and extraordinarily unnerving. Smuggled across Lancaster County's southern border up from Maryland for nominal cost. Pennsylvania contraband. Brought across state lines at various times of year. 4th of July, one time to buy, and just before the eve of the next new year, by our enterprising favorite uncles or driver licensed older brothers. Loads of exploding junk undercover in their trunk, who would discreetly fill your order for firecrackers, bottle rockets, cherry bombs, M80s, and so much more. None for me, too risky and entirely too hard to earn my money, 25 cents a week. Buying airplane model kits is not cheap. I can't bring myself to let it burn so fast in a blinding flash. There goes my cash. I'll watch while yours explodes from the far side of our country road, and I'll do that for free. At the lower end, everyone has a friend who could get them atom pearls, tiny, shiny, exploding beads for making lots of noise, loved by little boys if they succeed in scaring little girls. By sneak attack, they go crack. By impact on concrete to make that sound, you throw them down against sidewalks or the street. A school-time recess street, but don't get caught in the act. They'll pay you back with detention. You'll do time for your petty crime, not to mention parental intervention. You were the sole creator, recruiter, instigator of a make-believe militia. Sneaking around your neighborhood, was someone out to get you who was up to nothing good? I recall your chosen name, American Patriot Raiders. I surmise its chartered aim to surprise attack invaders of your home on Blossom Hill. Your flag employed a trapezoid. I can draw it still. Initials APR. Red letters sloping down the hill over a field of white, across its tapered bias, above an angled shoreline hugging a sea of blue, as if calling out, please join our cause and fly us. If you do, patriots too will rise up to follow you. As far as I know, your flag was never flown, not even at your home, having never been sewn. or just too secret to make its presence known. History's lost. No Betsy Ross ever lived on Blossom Hill. Probably never will, not to be remembered half as well as Bunker Hill. War games running through the woods, ambush like your Robin Hood, always on the side of good. What was up with this attraction for paramilitary action? We grew up in the shadow of a war we never knew. Living in the aftermath of World War II, we were taught that war was fought on our behalf by our patriotic fathers to raise freedom's sons and daughters, kids like me and you. When someone younger calls your number with that soft rebuke, "Okay, boomer, yeah, that's you," thank them for the compliment. Giving credit where it's due, leave them dazed and confused. Oh wait, they were already in that state before they encountered the likes of you. We grew up curious to hear the stories from uncles and fathers, the glorious, furious, gory details, more often than not to no avail. They could not be bothered, brushing us off with comments like nothing to tell. We've seen their uniforms, rarely worn, way in the back of the darkest closet, silently guarding civilian garments, hanging up long enough to have relaxed away all their creases and wrinkles that seem to have found their way to the faces and hidden places on the soldiers, now looking much older in a mildly creepy way. A movie replay of the picture of Dorian Gray. Anyone who was lucky enough to return home with a burden of stuff that only they could bear, only those who did the same had the empathy and community to share. We saw patches and medals, canteens and collapsible eating utensils, and so we thought we knew what they fought their way through. We could touch and feel the wartime gear. We kids never knew, we never had a clue for the drama, trauma, guilt, and fear, what true war can do, making the you that you once knew seem to disappear. Unless and until you crest that hill covered in goo, the blood and brains of your combat-trained brother in arms. No one survives the same. No survivor ever returns unharmed. War games. What an oxymoron. After the disaster of World War II, humanity crawling out from under the ruins and debris, there emerged a remedy to prevent a World War III. A Cold War became the agreed upon correction, but in turn that made a global low-grade infection, like a tropical depression, shedding tornadoes in its wake, allowing for funding and training the proxy wars forever maintaining. Remind me again, what exactly are we containing? By holding their noses for ideology's sake to the smell of the lies hypnotically rationalized as geopolitical alibis. A sign of the times in music and rhymes, a post-war genre coming on strong, the generically named protest song, with titles like Eve of Destruction, a 3-minute introduction, having something to say, getting radio play. Paranoia, real or imagined, a distinction without a difference, causing plenty of friction, a self-fulfilling prediction that took little evidence to land a conviction. Fears of commies in the lobbies of Congress and the PTA. Should there be a rule in school either way, whether or not we shall pray? Leaving it up to the court of last resort, Supreme Court decision, freedom of, from, or for, publicly funded and practiced, constitutionally redacted, whatever you believe it to be, religion. Air raid drills, if you will, hide under your desk. As good a place as any, hug your knees to your chest. A good time to get some rest before your next civics test. There seem to be so many. As children of an economic boom, the megaton gorilla in the Cold War room, living by the moment, in those times, blowing up our peace of mind was the very idea that we were no more secure than a launch code sequence alleged for our defense away from a nuclear firestorm of global doom. Given to believe we were living in between the horns of the dilemma of nuclear annihilation and communist infiltration, the times were wild just to be a simple child. Every new age that turns a page gets disengaged from whatever came before. On behalf of every aftermath, is it fair to say, or at least to wonder, are we now living undercover in a kind of World War IV? By our teens, how we've grown, and it seems this old house on Blossom Hill is feeling now like my second home. It's not just you, your family too, welcoming me, a happy place for me to be. Special mention for your mother, was it ever her intention? But she never really bothered as we commandeered her kitchen for our culinary tradition of artistic exhibition, baking pizzas of distinction, sculpture good enough to eat, right off the cookie sheet like vultures scarfing rotting meat, our happy late night treat. We'd make the dough, the crust would overflow. When it came to toppings, we knew no stopping, neither one of us. It was too much fun ever saying no. With practice ease, we could create pizza catastrophes for entertainment's sake, a kitchen mess left in our wake. Major crime scene in your mother's oven. We were so mean. Every so often, pizza entrails overflowing down onto the oven floor. Our preferred way of knowing. Just enough extra stuff dumped atop our homemade crust, never on the verge of stopping, until the shit was dropping off onto the inside of the oven door. Your boy cave basement bedroom, our experimental lair, imagination in full bloom, credit where it's due. Were your parents ever aware of what we did down there? From movie magic to fermentation, special effects, exploitation, your camera wound and rolling. Food dye diffusion to create an illusion. Glass jar distorting what your camera's recording. Take one and you're done. Entropy always won, a fully diffused color and hue. If it all looks the same, it's no longer fun. You also took part making video art as you captured on film the dissolution of a trusted institution merely by poking your finger into the eye of the storm of the social norm called TV network news as you twiddled the knobs and dials for a while on a state-of-the-art TV circa 1970, disrupting the technology behind the technical part of the illusion. The editorial part distorted from the start. That's what editors are paid to do, deciding what's being reported, selected, sorted, aborted, offered up as important and true in order to reinforce, challenge, or endorse a given course or its correction. Protected, unnamed inside sources, as well as the public face of power, condensed into a dinner time, commercial embedded nightly news hour. The TV screen set to scrolling, another means of artistry, mastery by over-controlling, vertical holding, color, brightness out of whack, contrast light to black, always getting bolder, beauty under scrutiny, if only in the eye of the beholder. Distortion you could use from that relentless fixation, national infatuation with daily broadcast news. Vietnam until we're blue, riots in the streets, reporters on their beats, trying to stay alive to outcompete their network rivals one way or another, professional sisters and brothers. So many wars in front of the cameras and behind. Abracadabra, 30 seconds at a time. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain in a messy world when nothing's ever certain, except the bottom line. Ever aware of market share over the air all the time, someone has to choose what becomes the nightly news. When will we find that all sides in any war, even at their best, can only hope to lose? Remember this one? The first casualty of any war is the truth. Welcome to the lightning round, the often frightening sight and sound of our teenage youth. Comedic first-time intoxication by our homemade boysenberry wine, our first batch experimentation at alcoholic fermentation left me less inclined to disable my state of mind. Again, anytime sooner rather than later. When will this room stop spinning? When will you stop grinning? It's making me an alcohol hater. Too much, too fast, my lesson learned. Was that just one glass? You drove me home where I could barf alone. Bright boysenberry red, mostly into the toilet bowl. Before what was left of me was falling into bed. My mother woke up in the night to the sound of her son's barfing plight, feeling sorry for my sudden sickness, until she learned in the light of day by my repentant, self-inflicted witness the role that alcohol had to play. My punishment, fair enough, to clean my bathroom barfing up. Her prior pity replaced with disappointment and disapproval in her tone of voice and written on her face. Your father, older than my own, when mine was still a kid. Yours flew cargo, World War II, a truth he never hid, but like most vets, he kept a lid on details of what he actually did. Aside from having been combat trained to fly the fastest fighter plane the free world had ever seen, compliments of Lockheed, the Skunk Works claim to fame. Seems a shame he missed the killing show of the greatest generation the modern world would care to know. Woulda, shoulda, coulda been great flying the P-freaking 38. A twin-boom chariot of fire, more than 1,000 horsepower on each side of our country's fastest twin-engine fighter, pulling along the center-mounted pilot rider, enough power and speed to inspire every schoolboy's flying desire. With honorable mention to the girls out there who likewise yearn to fly through the air, they ferried fighters for the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, serving without the combat role. Same great planes, but less killing. Excelled at serving proudly willing. My father's younger brother collected aviation news. It's true, I followed in my uncle's shoes, he being of a certain age. During the years the war would rage, there she was in all her glory. I possess and cherish Uncle Louis's 3-ring binder, aeronautical reminder, P-38 cover story, pictured and reported unveiling the top secret mystery, detailing the first draft of her epic history. She earned the name of Lightning, devastation that was truly frightening. Aimed like a fire hose, firepower in the nose, incinerating Japanese Zeros, making the most American ace heroes. Who knows the damage left undone? Your father flying vital cargo runs. Flying combat sounds like fun. Could have cost his life. After that, your mother would never have become his wife. Then who would I be mourning if you had never been a borning? Since I grew up, obsessed with flying, your dad and I shared that bond, no denying. Then too, he always offered me an Archway Aunt Ruth's oatmeal cookie whenever I came looking for you, so you and I could go out, wander about, in search of something fun to do. As your dad and I sat, we'd have our standard chat, whatever was on his mind, in line with killing time. Once in a while he treated me to more than just a cookie, such as this catchy phrase, "The Golden Gate in 48. Finally a rhyme that isn't mine." The closest thing to a wartime story that he ever shared directly with me. The sentiment making the rounds within his army band of brothers, given the campaign progress and scope winding down. This focused their hope to get home to wives and mothers, thought to be realistic for the end of hostilities in the South Pacific. Time after time, your father always left me feeling fine, I'd have to say, in his fatherly way. Your old man was a friend of mine. Then when you would show, we'd be ready to go. You have your key to your family car. You always drive, knowing where we are when we arrive, wherever we decide. Cruise the loop in Lancaster City, American graffiti style. Be the merry pranksters playing tennis for a while at a private club, hotel, or resort where neither of us belong. Can anyone tell? Will they report? You would grin, boldly walking in as if we're doing nothing wrong. Papadino's Pizza Shop, our final stop, when our typical weekend evening prowl as teenage boys' stomachs growl. More frequent in the summertime, delinquent time to shine. When summer jobs could bore you blind, we needed greasy pizza to unwind. A party of 2, 3, or 4. Through Papadino's street side door, one of us grabbing the next number off the hook, taking a look, taking his turn and doing time, waiting at the end in the order line, while the others grab a booth, too crowded to be aloof. It was only $3 and change for one large pizza plain. We always ordered extra toppings, anchovies, olives, pepperoni, our kind of grocery shopping. Split that bill 3 or 4 ways. Easy outlays we kids could pay. Those were still the pre-inflationary days when $1.66 an hour was minimum wage. Rivers of grease from pepperoni and cheese running down wrists, out to the elbows, or soaking our sleeves. That's part of the show. Who could resist? Etiquette insists. More napkins, please. 4 guys in a booth, appropriately uncouth, hungry male teenage youth. John and Bill, Howie and me, to eat your fill. You had to eat fast. Amazed at John and Bill, I'd always finish last. Impressive to see John would be the first one through. He was proud to announce that aside from his pounce, his speed was due to the fact that he would barely chew. But between me and you, why take that bite if it's just a hit and run? Is there a prize for being the first one done? I'd rather chew and fully savor well-masticated pizza flavor. Getting back on track to our time alone, dropping the others off, fully stuffed, driving the two of us back to your home. Just you and me. What set us apart from our other friends and family? Our conversations, heart to heart, ignited by our common spark of curiosity. The quest may have no end in sight, a waste of patience and time, attention driven quickly in decline for anyone else of weaker spine, an orphaned enterprise, strictly yours and mine. What are the chances it's all a futile search, not the sort of thing you argue about in church? Before we had the abstract tools, the names, the games, the rules, just to sit in silence, you and I, in the presence of another, a shared passion to discover or merely sit in wonder, getting high on the questions, each other's suggestions. What? How? Why? To sit in the dark in your father's car, in your driveway parked under porch light and stars. It seemed so important to ponder who we are. Whenever we were through, nothing more to be said, I'd ride my bicycle home, eager for bed. The nights were so still, the ride mostly downhill, breathing in the silence and dark, a sense of peace filling my heart. It took a year in college to heighten your search for esoteric knowledge that would reverse your resistance against psychedelic assistance. The drugs were just to facilitate. The quest was as before to ponder the profound, to investigate, to explore, simply put, to take a look deep within and from there begin a fresher look around. Turns out space-time doesn't care what you're tripping for. Nothing could compare with what I found inside my mind behind your front door one eternal night, becoming more aware. You and I taking flight in the safety of your home, your parents gone, I forget to where. We'd be leaving too, but by a different avenue, adapting to a different point of view. The ordinary lost its grip so silently, non-violently, nothing to alarm, no fear of any harm, so unaware, and then I'm there, oh my, oh me. No more physicality. What's become of my reality, my inner time and space at first displaced and then erased? Eternity, who would have known? It's plenty on its own. A life of here and now. Just a temporary glimpse, but a taste to convince that space-time way out there, far and wide, is not the same as our brain maintains on the inside to sync up with what we see out there that by agreement we claim to share. But eventually, by the light of dawn, all of that pre-trip reality that daily life depends upon, all that we had known, came right back. Slowly, gently, quite intact, and fully on its own, but refreshed, extraordinary, as if first time we met, as if glowing with the growing dawn, as if knowing the ride we're on, 1,000 miles an hour, Earth's rotation of our exact planetary location toward the morning sun. Through it all, I still was me, an inner, silent, transcendental entity, essentially, staying separate, and free, not at the mercy of any psychedelic neurochemistry. I never knew your source supply for what you shared with me to get us high, expanding my reality, my sacred immortality. A precious time, grateful for my opening mind. A four-way split, impressive shit, Orange Sunshine. A story for another time. To my dearest friend and travel guide, from start to end, always a lovely ride. The virtual reality made by my brain exposed for what it truly is, a biochemical magic show, by making it bend and twist and then return to its original shape. We learn we can't escape, dispelling the illusion of knowing what's real through our senses alone. A small step on the road to a larger view, forever facing the next unknown, the best we can do to uncover what's true. As if the world out there were just as I see, having nothing to do with what's created by me. Now that was a life of lunacy. You set me free with mescaline first, then LSD. None the worse, lessons learned. Released from the prison of delusion. Ever since making restitution, given credit for prior time served, to see reality twist and flip. Thank you again for each and every acid trip. From mescaline and LSD to transcendental meditation. The latter I got to know through your older brother Joe, and with a grateful heart. He and I got our TM start on May 13, 1972. Yet again, an upward trend, another upgrade to my inner point of view. Been meditating ever since, twice daily, rarely missed. My transcendental mental wash and rinse. Our evolving conversation into consciousness from meditation for as long as you could still speak. Always something more to seek. Getting back to 1959, a year I won't forget, first grade was where we met. Miss Kottmeyer was our teacher, both of us were in her class. She was new, we were too, our friendship grew, built to last. We were lucky to have passed. As early readers go, what my report card fails to show, both of us, she deemed as slow, as we failed to progress based on her cookie-cutter expectation. Maybe we were there to test her untested academic indoctrination. When our memories met in recent years, it delighted me to hear, just like mine at the time, your mother also thought that the fault was the teacher's rather than yours or mine. By senior year, it was clear to me we were shaping each other's destiny. Or escaping into fantasy. Take your pick, time would tell. Would our passion stick or fizzle out, riddled by doubt? Just good intentions, bad inventions, on the road to hell. You got me skiing, I took you flying. I didn't like freezing. You didn't like dying? Not for any lack of trying. As our high school days slipped away, we knew we'd go our separate ways. Aerospace engineering for me, computer science in its infancy, was where you had to be. How times have changed since our parents' youth. Our college days brought home that truth to us, but not at first to them. Such as public trust in the call to arms, how military service suffered its loss of purpose during our Vietnam entanglement, during our early college years. Given your father's service, he expected the same from you, to feel your own sense of purpose and join the military too as a college reservist. The Vietnam era thing to do. With a different view, the best you could do was to split the difference and take at least 1 year of ROTC and just see. Here we go. The story you brought home to me after that first college year. Signed up for Air Force ROT freaking C. Yes, sir, no, sir, no excuse, sir. Any further questions? No explanations, no alibis, no other legal replies. As they dress you down at drill inspection, their commands are not suggestions. Smear Vaseline to get that sheen for those shiny toes seems to be the remedy that every cadet knows for drill inspection to pass without detection. You learn to play the role, no harm done. Was there any fun? Didn't seem to save or enslave your soul. Fascinating. You're relating the ROT movie propaganda to obfuscate the realities of their ultimate goal of grooming you to be the clinically clean, cynically unseen agent of death and destruction. How you could be quite literally so high above the killing, there would be nothing to see that would be as chilling as what your actions are causing on the ground. Hey, the goods they're selling is that it's better to be the hero way above ground zero. Using movies that illustrate the warrior you could be, the good life that awaits. A lovely sight to see, the high technology. Flying high above the fray, the high altitude bomber way. Beautiful bombers flying high through a brilliant blue sky, pouring out their payload, disappearing through the cloud, destined to explode, but so far below, you would hardly know. It would not be very loud, maybe feel like a bump in the road when a ton of your bombs explode. A single dose of this stuff, Air Force ROTC, that was plenty close enough, just one season to invest. The only reason to honor your fathers. Check out the military request. As our paths diverged, I lost my urge to keep in touch. I regret that now so very much. For 40 years and counting, I gave you up for dead. And then by my accounting, you saved my life instead. Not from death's destruction, but from a low point in my life. Your relentless search renewed my sense of worth. And your reintroduction in the nick of time, near the end of her long decline, as dementia claimed my wife, as if you were throwing a life preserver with a lifeline to me, tied firmly to our shared past. While I was rowing, lost at sea, taking on water and sinking fast, my dear old friend, you swooped back in without thinking twice, as you, your son, and amazing wife welcomed me quite graciously to tag along with your family's life so I could mend. And to that end, step back away from my strife, get relief from my recent grief, to begin my life again. Grateful how you rescued me beyond just getting back in touch, as if no time had lapsed. Our conversations loved so much, a renaissance of our distant past. But wait, there's more. Bill, 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 standing, grinning, towering over me. What a sight to see, knocking at my front door. Once you found me, fait accompli, you and he, reminding me of a binary star, neither very far from the other, closer than most brothers. and neither you nor he escaped your matrimonial fate, finding your respective perfect mate, lucky me, by marriage and by proxy, my two new long-lost friends. How family extends with newfound friends, more than just your matching bookends. With our future bright before us, perspectives from life's lessons learned, impressive how our future burned. Or so we thought, until a heavy toe kept getting caught. How were we to know that was just the opening shot? The fatal, final battle fought not just by you, but by your loved ones too. Puzzled by your stumbling stride, no compensation could quite hide. Foot drop was its name. An ominous way to come up lame, not quite knowing what to blame. The roller coaster ride was all downhill from there. Symptoms would not hide. They arrived with no repair. Invited to a hanging that will not right this wrong. The victim will be dangling, convicted right along. ALS is a capital crime, and by the time the verdict's down, the years are few that are given to you before you're driven underground. Notwithstanding Stephen Hawking, how did that man keep on talking? As their diagnoses pissed around to test and treat for other shit, the destruction never quit. No answers found for all their trying, motor neurons kept on dying. When all else failed, they said, oh well, what the hell? This null result is not our fault. ALS, we now confess. Our final educated guess, by default, tag, you're it. This late-term diagnosis, the one that seemed to stick, came with its own prognosis roadmap for becoming sick. Nerve death keeps on coming, failing breath, you'll be succumbing. No locomotive breath as you're passing into death, with all due respect to Jethro Tull. Pride surely goeth before the final fall. But seriously, what's it like to be on the inside looking out? That end-of-life reality, dying with no doubt. The oxygen debt that we can't see, the quiet desperation of failing respiration. We can't forget your final scene. I see you in my nighttime dreams. One never gets a second try to say that last goodbye. Torn between gratitude and a sadder mood, words fail the moment so quickly passing, grasping empty phrases, alternating relief and grief at various stages. This rhyming memoir moment, my therapeutic atonement for what your life brought to mine. You're never far from my thought. Until the day I die, you're alive in my heart and mind. Eventually, finally, just like you, I'll pay my due as I continue over time on my own neurological decline. Yours started later, mine started early. Yours moving faster, mine slow but surely. Yours mostly motor, mine mostly sensory. Brainstem dysfunction, losing respiration eventually. Yours ALS, mine syringomyelia, as true for you as it is for me. You play the hand they deal ya. My right side numb since age 15 from teenage rage. Feeling cheated and defeated, maturing and enduring with passing age into empathy. As I followed you on your frighteningly faster journey, more aware of what it means to suddenly be neurologically impaired, and the utter frustration enduring the guessing game of neurological investigation, only to learn that they know what you got, but that there's nowhere to turn. They can't make it stop. Someday, like you, perhaps I'll see, whether fleetingly or for eternity, does the final lyric stick? How it feels to be thick as a brick. The years I had you back, though precious, were too few. Just in time for your sad decline, leaving me with a growing lack as you're fading out of view. But in the end, my dear old friend, you were aware that I was there, if only by speakerphone, to share your last as you passed. My heart was dying in my home alone. Finally, no longer denying, telling true, my love for you. What more could you ask? What more could we do? Kick ALS in the ass. Relegate it to the past. For what it did to you.